All right, welcome to our next video in the series. This one's going to be pretty short. We are programming in the block programming language Snap. I think this is our second major project of the course. We are going to be building the game Pong. Pong is a classic decades-old game. It's probably 40 years old at this point, and it was a basic simulation of tennis or obviously ping pong. The idea was there was a player on each side, each one controlled a rectangular paddle, and there was a ball that would bounce back and forth between the players. And if you could get that ball past your opponent, then you would score a point. And the way we are going to build the game, first one to 5 points wins. So when I execute this code, it should look a little something like this. Yay, left scores. So the way I've actually built my code is I'm including some extra credit, which is the paddle on the right is not controlled by me or another person. I actually have that set up to be AI. And oh boy, he got me. Look at that. So there's a couple things I want to point out. Number one, notice how nice the collisions look in this game. Oh boy, it's getting fast. What you should be observing is, I can move my paddle up, I can move my paddle down, but it never goes off the edge of the map. When the ball, this is going to be the thing that you're going to spend your time on. How is it that we can make the ball hit off the paddle in a way that looks natural? Because it's easy to want to say, okay, if ball touching paddle, turn 180 degrees, but when you try that, I think you will find that it doesn't make for very natural looking collisions, right? It doesn't make the ball, if the ball comes in at an awkward angle, to turn around 180 degrees means it's going to leave back along that awkward angle rather than do what we see here. So I want you to observe something. Watch the ball hit the paddle and notice if I hit it with the lower half of my paddle, it goes down. If I hit it with the upper half of my paddle, I won. Let's try again. If I hit it with the upper half of my paddle, it's going to bounce up. Now, I'm not going to give you the exact code that achieves this, but let's talk through the idea. The way I built it, I said, hey, ball, whenever you hit the paddle, let's say you've detected you've hit the left paddle, why don't you point towards it? So in that moment that you've struck the paddle, point towards the paddle. Then, ball, I want you to turn around 180 degrees and then move away. And the cool thing that does is when we tell the ball to point at the paddle, it is going to look at the very center of the paddle, and then when it turns 180 degrees, it moves away from that center. So by saying if touching left, point to left, then turn 180 degrees, and then move away, you get this much cleaner looking collision, number one. Number two, don't forget the paddle if on edge bounce. That's useful. Make sure, just like we coached up in our previous lab, Run Mario Run, do not use when blocks or the yellow control blocks for receiving inputs. You want to make sure that you are using that forever if. So forever if up arrow, move my paddle up. If down arrow, move my paddle down. That's the best way to go with that. I don't think there's actually any new blocks to introduce here. It's all going to be the loops that we've talked about, the conditional logic with ifs. For determining whether or not you've scored, I really like using the less than operator. If the ball's X position is less than this number, then right scored. If it's greater than this number, then left scored. That's a good tip for that. And that's all I've got. You'll notice I've got the score in variables kept up here, left and right. We see that I defeated my AI, and then another feature that I think is required is that we want to get the ball to speed up a little bit every time it hits a paddle. And the way to do that is, normally we would say move 5 steps, move 10 steps. You can make a variable called speed. You can ask your ball to move speed steps, and every time it touches a paddle, increase speed by 1, right? So if speed starts out at 3, let's say, then you could say if touching left paddle, increase speed by 1, and then you can do your point towards the left paddle, turn around 180 degrees, and leave. Okay, that's the Pong project. That's all the tips I've got for it. Thank you.